and this will be the perfect game to get his season going. Now, granted, last few games he hasn't performed bad, he hasn't been terrible, but this is still not quite the season that we thought we were going to get from Garrison Brooks. But he hasn't needed to have that type of season just yet. This could be a game where you're going to need him to step up because some of the freshmen probably are going to get frustrated in this game. This is a game that gets very chippy. There's a lot of trash talk that goes on. That's just part of it. So you want to see Garrison Brooks, some of your veteran guys, Andrew Platek, step up, have a good game in this one, which, we didn't really talk about him, but he had a pretty good game the other day against Kentucky, too. This guy's starting to become more and more of a consistent threat for Carolina. So those are the types of guys that you want to see step up in this game and take over and show these young guys that, look, even though we see Duke as our biggest rival, this is a rivalry matchup that we've got to be prepared for, and I think they will be prepared for that in this one. That's why I think Carolina will win this game. I don't think it'll be a relatively easy win because I just don't feel like there's going to really be any games like that on Carolina's schedule this year. I think any of the games that we've seen that were supposed to be that way, Carolina's already gotten out of the way. I think this will probably be a game that'll be much like last year's games. It'll be close for a while. There'll be some chippiness. There'll be a lot of fouls called in this game. So you're going to have to convert at the free throw line. But I think Carolina will pull away late and win probably somewhere around the 10 to 12 point range.
Yeah, I mean, if Carolina needs anything to get them motivated in the game, the ESPN Basketball Power Index actually favors NC State 58% to 42% to beat Carolina. And look, the matchup with the Wolfpack it's tricky because usually you go to this play, when you go to the PNC Arena, it's a jam-packed environment, and their environment in that game really helps them to be competitive. And it's usually why if they ever beat Carolina in their building, the environment's a big part of that. No environment because of COVID-19. You're going to be playing in an empty gym. Carolina, outside of the Smith Center, is 3-2 on the road in empty environment. So, they've gotten somewhat comfortable playing outside the Smith Center with no fans. But you talk about State, you talk about Kevin Keats, you're talking about the pressure. They want to play full court pressure, man-to-man defense. How does Carolina's young guards kind of handle that? How do they combat that? Because State's a very physical team. Now, granted, it usually hurts them because when Carolina plays with the physical they played with on Saturday, they'll do any team in the country they did, which they'll beat you because our guys they're just more talented, they're stronger, they're more gifted. So I think it's something State's got to realize that they want to play smaller, they want to play 4-around-1. How does Carolina handle that? They've done a pretty good job since Kevin Keats has come to take over the program there at State. But mainly, I think the thing about this game is State wants to make this game fast-paced. I think that benefits Carolina because they've had a hard time getting out and running. But when they've gotten out in the transition, you've seen that even though they're young, they can make plays in the open floor. And I think this is a good chance for Carolina to build some confidence. They're going to play against a style of a team that they're not going to see the rest of the way. But as you mentioned, you've got Garrison Brooks, who's owned NC State in the past. You've got Andrew Platek, who, as you mentioned, is forming into a role. I thought he had a pretty bad first half the other day. Had a big second half that was a big part of why Carolina pulled away to beat Kentucky. So how does Carolina's veterans play in this game? I think is a big part because they're going to need Garrison Brooks to round into ACC Player of the Year form. You're going to need Armando Bacot to continue to play the level he's playing at right now, and you're going to need some guys to step up and make some perimeter shots. And I think Carolina's going to do that because it's just it's what they do in this game. Even in years where they probably were less talented than NC State or they weren't as motivated or whatnot, they've still found a way to beat the Wolfpack. So there's no reason that won't happen again this season. And I go back to the win over Kentucky as why this was a big win because I think it gets them ready for the ACC plate. It gets you ready to go on the road 4 out of 6. And Carolina says, this is your last game before Christmas. Then you get a week off. So you can put everything into beating this team. Then you can kind of decompress, go home, see your family, come back, get ready to really start the ACC gauntlet. And that's why I expect them to do because that's what they've done to Roy Williams. I'm with you. I think it'll be a relatively close game because it usually is close in their building. But at the end of the day, I think Carolina will win. One thing to note, they've only got to 81 time this year, and that was in a loss. Right now, NC State's scoring 81.8 points per game. Carolina just at 74 points. So let's see if the tempo does pick up, give Carolina be more efficient on the offensive end and find a way to score some more points. So me and Anthony both have Carolina getting their first ACC win of the season tomorrow night. hopefully we'll be coming on here shortly after that game to talk about that in a positive manner, as Carolina would hopefully improve to 6-2 on the season. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and get out of here. First, we'll let you talk to you guys about the website, HeelToughBlog.com. It's been a pretty busy time of year for us. Football and basketball overlapping. National Signing Day was earlier last week. We had you covered on that. Carolina's going to the Orange Bowl on the football side of things. Anthony's got you covered with that. Check out all the football content on the HeelToughBlog.com. And, of course, basketball-wise, me and Mark Cranes have been splitting up the duties, taking you game to game from the Tar Heels. And we'll have you covered for NC State. With Mark, he's taking this game this time, as he'll have the preview and the recap, which means I'll have Marlowe's musings afterwards. Find all that great content on HeelToughBlog.com. And last, we encourage you guys to rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Across every major podcasting platform, most notably Spreaker, iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spotify, TuneIn, Google Podcasts, you name it, the Roy's Boys podcast is there. Give us a like, give us a review. Most importantly, we encourage you guys to subscribe. That way you get every new episode in your podcast feed. Well, with that, thank Anthony for coming on, talk a little Carolina basketball. We thank you guys for listening. And as always, go Tar Heels.